Hi everyone, Ed Amoroso here from Tag Cyber, and I'm sitting with my friend Brian McCann, who is the president of NETSCOUT's security business unit, which includes Arbor Networks, that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. Hi Brian, how are you doing?
How you doing, Ed?
That's great.
Great to be in New York City.
Oh, you betcha.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into this business.
Sure. So I think it all started for me with fiber optics and optical networking. So back in the late 80s, early 90s, everything was moving fiber, and so everything was moving optical circuits and basically photonic circuits for everything driving for high speed. So optical fiber, optical networking systems, and just drove through the boom times in optical. Then we saw the evolution moving up the stack for new applications and moved to an optical automation company. Saw an opportunity to move into packet broker, network visibility, and go after network monitoring applications. So joined OnPath Technologies, which was not too far here out of New Jersey, and when we made that pivot into the packet broker space, we sold the company to NETSCOUT. So that was now 5 years ago. So kind of fiber optics and everything that was moving, as much as we thought everything was moving to fiber, copper still exists. And so a lot of our solutions are that mix of high-speed fiber and copper. And in the network visibility space, it's all about how do we get more traffic into the tools. So OnPath becoming part of NETSCOUT, that was now 5 years ago. And then we made another acquisition through the Danaher Communications business, which included VSS. VSS added to the packet broker space. And beyond being network visibility into NETSCOUT's service assurance monitoring, network performance monitoring business, we had a new security application. And that's what really started us in this new security visibility application, where we could basically pull a lot more traffic into an IDS, IPS firewall device and be able to have the packet brokers facilitate a lot of that.
Yeah, that was quite a gold rush in those days, right? With the fiber companies trading at crazy multiples.
So we went through amazing times.
Ups and downs.
When we started Arbor Optical Networking, I was employee number 7, first one in the U.S., and we went from 0 to 60 million in about 3 years. So that was kind of hyperdrive, right? And then when I left in '96, we were about 350 million and 1,000 people. And Metro Optical had become mainstream, certainly in the long haul space, but saw the better opportunity kind of moving up the stack and into network visibility.
Really exciting. It did change the world. I mean, amidst all of that up and down in the business community, you and I know the basic networking infrastructure that was put in place in those days is what powered the internet growth, right? I mean, that's what does it. That's why you can watch YouTube videos.
Yeah, there was a lot of excess capacity because of the boom times, but eventually all of that's gotten used, and that investment has gone even further. Right, so 100 gig is mainstream. It just took a little longer than some people may have predicted 15 years ago.
Now, Arbor got you into the cybersecurity business.
Exactly. So VSS was the security piece on the network visibility, and then with the Danaher Communications acquisition, VSS, it was VSS, Fluke Networks, Tektronix, and Arbor.
Oh, okay, great.
And so VSS, Fluke, and Tektronix all became part of the NETSCOUT portfolio. VSS is part of our packet broker, packet flow systems business. But Arbor was truly a standalone. And it had an excellent brand, and it was known as the premier DDoS company in the world.
Right, still is.
Yes, and so we kept that Arbor brand in part of our security business unit to be able to drive that, be able to position for a new world of advanced threats. So Arbor is part of our security business unit, which includes the packet brokers and the Arbor brand. And all of our solutions basically from now the customer prem all the way up through into the service provider networks.
I bet a lot of the people watching are interested in your thoughts on distributed denial of service. It's something that NETSCOUT and Arbor probably know as much as anybody about. Now, take me through it a little bit. I came to it in the layer 3 packet wars of lobbing a gazillion packets at a website, but it's become more sophisticated, hasn't it, over the years? Take me through that a little bit.
Yeah, so maybe start with the history of Arbor. So Arbor was founded back in 2000, right around that boom time, from the University of Michigan and a DARPA contract to look at traffic visibility at the internet level, specifically for denial of service. And that's how the company was started off. That contract spun out. So Arbor Networks started in Ann Arbor, Michigan, out of University of Michigan, into above a Starbucks right on State Street in Ann Arbor. And the focus was visibility and what's happening in the service provider network. So DDoS visibility, and that allowed also traffic engineering and a lot of route planning for ISPs. That SP product line did amazingly well with tier 1 service providers,
Right.
and essentially became the platform. So in about 3 years, Arbor SP, as we call it now,
Right.
became that platform that provided network visibility.
Peak Flow X and all those
Peak Flow X
products
back
are
in the day.
very
So that
successful.
kind of put us on the map. And then the evolution of the company kind of really built with that credibility of we could see what others couldn't, and it was how can we add better protection to some of the world's largest networks. In the beginning, very service provider focused. So then we offered our first DDoS mitigation platform, the TMS, what we now call Arbor TMS.
Yeah.
And that really now deployed in all of the tier 1 service providers worldwide. We have over 400 service providers. And what it's doing now is it's taking that SP visibility and it's feeding that intelligence, anonymous data, back into a central platform that we call Atlas. So it's that data that we have with all of our 400 service providers contributing anonymous data. We now get third-party feeds. We're getting a lot of some of our own honeypots feeding into that data, and then our own ACERT research team kind of curating that to look for other advanced malware. So Atlas has become that foundation that has allowed TMS and SP to become even more broad spread. So I was just over at some enterprise customers here in the New York area. Their networks are as big as service providers. They're using SP and TMS, as well as looking for some new customer premise devices. So then if I kind of build to the evolution of the company, at our customer prem, we introduced our new APS, or basically our application-based protection system. And APS sits at the customer prem and allows us to go in line and complements TMS as a solution, so that more application layer attacks can be served through APS at customer prem, and then anything of large volumetric size, particularly now with a lot of what's happening with IoT. This is way more than DNS amplification now. All that can still flip up to the TMS infrastructure.
Do those CPE APS devices have to be somewhat cognizant of the applications that are running? Do they have to be some sort of intelligent to that in order to make sense of what's happening, or can they be pretty generic?
They can be pretty generic. They have to be stateful, but they don't have to be specifically application aware. I mean, what they're looking for is what are the specific applications and what are the threats that need to be protected. And I think what we've tried to do in the complexity, particularly on when you're deploying these solutions at an enterprise level, we're seeing more and more interest to be able to offer managed services. So our evolution has been increasing automation at the platform level, but also offering managed services to our customers, so we can look at the tuning and the application level information that's needed and be able to handle a lot of that ourselves. So we do that in the way of managed services, turnkey for the customer, as well as about 3 years ago we introduced our Arbor Cloud offering, which is a full turnkey managed cloud offering with the TMS sitting in an infrastructure. We're moving to an 8 terabit transit network and 4 terabits of scrubbing to be able to handle monster DDoS attacks at any individual location, or lots of them spread out as a turnkey service for an enterprise customer, or even for our service providers that can't afford to just keep building out their TMS, and they want us to be kind of an over-the-top service that goes with it.
You see SMBs potentially buying that type of service?
So great point, because I think for us, the SMBs, the issue is price sensitivity and what are the DDoS attacks.
And simplicity of provisioning, they don't want to do any of that stuff.
So I was at a relatively small business as a gaming company. They're DDoSed all the time. Right? High priority issue.
Get DDoS,
exactly. So what I've learned now is there's actually gamers can say you can hire a DDoS attack for $10 an hour. Right? It's with IoT, it's getting bigger.
Gaming
it's
is
getting
a
easier.
Completely different thing when you're talking DDoS.
Exactly. And when you look at SMB, the issue, and this gets more maybe leading into the discussion we had earlier, which is about how do you virtualize, right? How do you be able to make the technology more pervasive, make it more cost effective, easier for service providers to be able to roll up services using a DDoS Protect in addition to what they're offering, and that's absolutely the direction that we're headed.
I mean, that's probably top of mind for most people watching. What is in your mind, what's kind of the vision when I'm running a business? I've got hybrid cloud, I'm scattering services around, and I want to think about assuring my communication. I want to prevent DDoS. How should I think about that? I think that's probably a little bit of a shift from the original concept. How are you guys kind of building to that model?
Wow. So
it's hard, right?
Yeah. So a couple of pieces. I think first of all, from a technology perspective, we've been moving the mindset of the company from an appliance-based model to a software and a virtualized model. So this is just how do we build technology building blocks that allows customers to deploy it in whatever form they need.
Yeah.
And similar to the fiber and optical example from before, it takes a long time to be able to make these migrations from what are the platforms being used today to what everybody really wants is a fully virtualized cloud-based future.
Right.
So technologically, we're building those pieces together so our customers can put them and implement them in a phase-based approach. I think from an overall business assurance perspective, NETSCOUT now with Arbor in part of the security business, NETSCOUT is looking at this digital transformation as an opportunity to take the NETSCOUT Ingenious capabilities, which sit to assure services, and what Arbor does to essentially secure services, to put them together in a nice value proposition that we've never done before. No one in the industry is really doing. So on the Arbor side, our focus is the security applications. And for that security, we're looking to make sure that we're increasing the visibility of what's happening in the network, what's happening at the internet, be able to correlate the data of what's happening inside an enterprise and the internet. That's what we're doing with our Atlas data platform. That's huge for us, a big investment. So visibility, core differentiator, it goes back to the history of Arbor, and that is still a massive strength for us.
Yeah.
The second piece is we're really driving more automation. So managed services are part of that story, but we need a platform that is basically, with machine learning, AI, able to recognize a lot of the new IoT botnets and be able to auto-mitigate anytime that we're setting up an attack that's happening at customer prem, automatically rerouting it up to a cloud or a TMS-based architecture. That's huge for us as well. And then the third is really working on the integration, because the world is bigger than just a couple of DDoS products. Arbor, in our portfolio, we've moved in beyond just DDoS and what we were now calling actually advanced DDoS, because IoT has totally changed the game there.
Yes.
Right? 800 gigabit attack reported last year, frequency's way up. But in addition, what we see is the opportunity to integrate our portfolio together, including all the way down into the world of advanced threats. So looking at traffic behavioral analysis as opposed to just signature-based detection methods. And that's something that we introduced last year with what we call Arbor Spectrum. So that's more than, Arbor is becoming more than just a DDoS company. It's the new world of advanced threats. And we view that traffic analysis as a key part to that. And NETSCOUT provides a lot of that data that assures more than what we're just doing with Atlas, but what we can do with the InfiniStream product and their ASI database to be able to feed that with a lot more intelligence.
That's so interesting. You mentioned 800 gig. It's almost against the law to not bring up capacity when we're talking DDoS. You think we're on the way to full 1 terabit per second attacks? I can't even believe I'm saying that, because it wasn't that long ago that a meg was big. But are we headed to filling up peering capacity if we don't do something?
So I think clearly the size of attacks is growing, right? The bigger issue is the frequency and complexity, but the size is what gets the headline, right?
It does, and it's still pretty scary. 800 gig, a couple old guys like you and I, can you believe that amount of capacity? That's
IoT.
Crazy.
IoT has changed, right? IoT has changed the way we basically need to secure our networks and the volumetric approach. So is it possible? Absolutely. Are we preparing for it? That's why we're putting Arbor Cloud in and building a 4 terabit scrubbing network dedicated for this, because it will happen. The issue is when, and how many attacks also simultaneously. That's a big issue that we're watching.
And almost like the ability for someone, if they were to just continue to launch one after another. I often wonder why attackers don't do that. I'm glad they don't, or at least haven't to date. Maybe we shouldn't even be bringing it up on video, but it has worried me that most of the big events we've seen have been somewhat isolated. But let me ask, you know as much about this as anybody. Are there scary scenarios?
Yeah, so the Dyn attack from last year that made the headlines was big because numbers. They were not properly prepared. Right? Our job, and we're doing this every day, is to make sure that the big attacks don't hit the deadlines. Right? So, in your days at AT&T, that there's a lot of work that gets done that actually doesn't get shown, to the public. That is our job. The NETSCOUT slogan is Guardians of the Connected World. We view our mission to assure and protect our customers' networks. And part of that is just to make sure they don't make the news and their networks can run.
Let me probe a little bit. You said something interesting, that maybe the size of the attacks are potentially less lethal as the complexity or the sophistication. Is that true? Like a more sophisticated attack at a smaller volume, is that potentially scarier than a
Ab-
big monster attack that might just be a bunch of dopey layer 3 packets?
So the new phenomenon is using IoT botnets to be able to basically throw out a volumetric
Yeah.
attack as a smokescreen,
Yeah.
to be able to then drive in an application
Yeah.
layer attack to someone who's basically got their team fully pressed up for the DDoS issue, when actually it's an application layer attack. So we see the complexity issue as being something that we're more concerned about. If you look at what we're building in our software platforms and what we're focusing on automation, it's those complexity application layer issues, as opposed to just another IoT botnet automated. It's all important. And again, the volume is the piece that usually is what you see first, but the application is what's driving the complexity.
You have a pretty cool job. You enjoying yourself?
I am. So the security piece is newer for me, right? Which is really cool. But the culture in Arbor is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. NETSCOUT. When I sold OnPath into them, I didn't expect to be around. NETSCOUT's got amazing people and amazing technology. So to kind of package this all together and feel like we are the guardians of the connected world, making that difference.
Yeah.
That is real at a scale. NETSCOUT's now a $1.2 billion company, so we have a scale that matters now for our industry.
That's great. Well, keep doing all the good stuff you're doing. It makes us safer that you do. And we appreciate you coming by and sharing with us.
Cool.
You stop back next time
Yeah.
and say hello?
All right.
It's nice to see you.
Thanks.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for checking out our video. Make sure you subscribe for more of our cybersecurity content, and also make sure you visit our website. Have a great day.